Hello everyone, Lewis from Scrubwood Studios here with a rather late clay model showcase of this thing, which I made earlier this year. It was a little while back. I made it after I finished Series 3, but before I did the winter filming, for those who are wondering. I can't remember exactly when. This is intended to be the theropod dinosaur Siats Meekerorum, because there isn't a good figure of it out there currently. And you might be wondering, why are we here? Why are we looking at it? Why aren't you showing me the process of making it? I didn't record that. Partially because I couldn't be bothered, but also because my last couple models have all turned out a bit sloppy, I felt. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to record this. I'm just going to try hard. I'm just going to, try hard mode this, not have any recording to distract me, see how it turns out. In the end, I don't think it turned out any better than when I do record the process, so there's that. I did have some good fun with this thing, but yeah, it didn't turn out that great. It's definitely got the general shape of, and it's been reconstructed as a Neovenatorid, by the way, not as a Megaraptoran, which are the two main theories for Siats and its classification based on very scant remains, as in some vertebrae and bits of the back legs is all we've got. So pretty much everything here from the front onward, from the legs forwards, is speculation based on what we think it is related to. But here we go. I've got the spare stand from the Pianoso Tyrannotide holding it up, which brings us on to our first flaw. It can't stand. I almost got it to. I had the tail droop down a bit so that if need be, I could sort of do the sort of old Carnegie collection trick of just having the tripod pose. But for a while, it didn't actually need it. It could stand on its own 2 feet until I sculpted the head. And now it's too front heavy. Maybe if I'd put one of the feet a bit further forward, it might have worked, but no. So let's have a bit of a closer look at this thing, see what it is. I made some new texture stamps for this thing, for scales, but I don't think it's coming out very well on the camera, because as per usual for Scrubwood Studios, you might notice also, why are we back on the old Scrubwood Studios review table? It's because the windowsill where I did the last couple reviews is freezing at this time of year, because the room it's in doesn't have, central heating or any insulation. Tell you what, let me see, if I turn that light on, can you see it a bit better? There we go, that's a bit better, but not much. So, one thing I did do this time is I think I did a bit better with the eyes. They're not like the Eustreptospondylus, where there was, no eyelids at all. They do still, however, bulge out from it. And by the way, if you look at this thing from the top down, the head is very uneven. This eye bulges out too much here. And, in general, the head's very crooked, which I don't like. From the side, this thing actually looks alright, but from top down, it's pretty messy, in my opinion. But the eye isn't as bulging or as bulbous as it was on the Eustreptospondylus. We've got the ear there. It's the same on the other side, but it's not as visible. Paint job is simple, but I think it turned out okay. I do quite like the purple I put on the crest. That was a bit of an experiment. I'm quite happy with the teeth on this thing. I think they're much better than the teeth on, say, the Tyranotitan I did, for example. They might be a bit oversized, but I think they look much better than the teeth on pretty much all my models except for the Cyclosaurus, because that had toothpick teeth, which I think worked quite well, but that wouldn't have really worked for that. I think they would have been too straight for a theropod like Siats. But there you go, we've got the inside done. By the way, this is my first time using spray-on varnish. I couldn't find any matte, but I did get some satin, which, it's a bit too shiny, but it's better than gloss. I don't think it's washed out the detail as much, but also the camera isn't really picking it up. There is actually quite a lot of scale texture here. It's just that the camera isn't picking it up too well. Plus, there's all these little, like, bits where, like, my fingers have just, like here, the tail's a bit crooked, where my fingers just haven't sculpted it very well, or, like, I picked it up at some point and it's ruined the sculpt. That's annoying. And also the paint job. I did quite a few washes on this, but, how do I put this? There were quite a few cases where, when picking it up later on to, like, varnish it, I accidentally rubbed some of the paint off and had to dab it up, so you can see bits where there's, like, smudges of, like, darker green. Again, it's not too noticeable on camera, but, you know, and there are some cases, particularly down by the legs, where, like, here, I missed a bit, so it's just white. You can see the white of the clay poking through. But we got lighter underside. For the most part, although, again, some of the washes I put on the top have bled down onto it a bit. It's alright, this thing. I think I can do better, realistically, but I'd say this is decent. So let's maybe move on to, let me put the stand back, some size comparisons real quick. We have probably the closest thing to a Siats, which is the Vitae Chilantisaurus, which, as we can see, is much smaller, although realistically it should probably be about the same size. We've also got the little collector Neovenator scenting prey. I actually think this is kind of an underrated figure, although for the record, this is better in every way. But it's harder to come by and more expensive, so, you know, put that in the back. Yeah. I don't have a Megaraptoran size comparison currently. I've considered picking up the Howlong Good Megaraptor, but I haven't done so yet. I don't know, maybe I will. But we've got, you know, a couple of Neovenated comparisons. I don't believe I have any other animals from the time and place of Siats. Like, I guess I could bring in like a Brachiosaurus or something as like Cedasaurus or something like that. Or like some sort of Nodosaurid as like Cedar Pelter. But I think I'll just go with some other theropods. So our next comparison is going to be the potentially not valid for much longer Pianosaurophaganax. These two scale pretty well, I think, actually, the Siats and the Saurophaganax. The Saurophaganax is a bit longer. You can't quite tell it, but there we go, there's the tails, and then, so the Saurophaganax is a bit longer, and it's obviously taller. Yeah, for those who don't know, Saurophaganax, the name specifically, might not belong to this animal much longer. There is evidence of a very large Allosaurid from the Jurassic, but the bones the name was given to, the holotype bones, it's now looking like might have been from a sauropod. There's someone else can probably explain it much better, who knows the study better than I did, but yeah, quite an interesting, is it relevation or revelation? Oh, I don't know, words. And then just before we get onto our outside photos to end things off, I'm just going to quickly do a couple measurements. This thing's about 26 centimeters long. I can't remember what scale I made this to. I think about 1:40. Yeah, and then at the top of the crest, it's probably about 9 centimeters tall. So with that, let's get on to some outside photos, and then we'll end this video.